He knew it was autumn again, because Torry came romping into the house, bringing the windy, crisp, cold smell of autumn with him. In every black curl of his dog hair, he carried autumn. Leaf flakes tangled in his dark ears and muzzle, dropping from his white vest and off his flourished tail. The dog smelled just like autumn. Martin Christie sat up in bed and reached down with one pale, small hand. Torry barked and displayed a generous length of pink, rippling tongue, which he passed over and along the back of Martin's hand. Torry warmed Martin's thin body with his dog warmness. Martin relished the clean dog smell and the litter of fallen leaves on the quilt. He didn't care if his mother scolded. "What's it like outside, Torry? Tell me." Lying there, Torry would tell him. Lying there, Martin would know what autumn was like in the old days before sickness had put him to bed. His only contact with autumn now was this brief chill, this leaf-flaked fur, the compact canine representation of summer gone, this autumn by proxy. And wherever Torry went, then Martin could go, because Torry could always tell him by the touch, feel, consistency, the wet, dry, or crispness of his coat. And lying there holding Torry, Martin would send his mind out to retrace each step of Torry's way, through fields, over the shallow glitter of the ravine creek, darting across the marble spread of the graveyard, into the wood, over the meadows, and where all the wild, laughing autumn sports went on. Martin could now go, through his emissary. His mother's voice sounded downstairs angrily. Her short, angry walking came up the hall steps. Martin pushed. "Down, Torry!" Torry vanished under the bed just before the bedroom door opened, and his mother looked in, blue eyes snapping. "That dog is more trouble, always upsetting things and digging places. He was in Miss Tarkin's garden this morning and dug a big hole. This is the third hole he's dug this week." "Maybe he's looking for something." "Something fiddlesticks. He's just a curious nuisance. He can't keep that black nose of his out of anything. Always curious." There was a hairy pizzicato of tail under the bed. His mother couldn't help smiling. "Well," she ended, "if he doesn't stop digging, I'll have to keep him in and not let him run." Martin opened his mouth wide. "Oh, no, Mum, don't do that. Then I wouldn't know anything. He tells me." His mother's voice softened. "Does he, son?" "Sure. He goes around and comes back and tells what happens, tells everything." His mother's hand was spun glass touching his head. "I'm glad he tells you, and I'm glad you got him." They both sat a moment, considering how worthless the last year would have been without Torry. Only 2 more months, thought Martin, of being in bed, and like the doctor said, he'd be up and around. Martin locked a special collar attachment around Torry's neck. It was a note painted on a tin square. "My name is Torry. Will you visit my master who is sick? Follow me." Torry carried it out into the world every day. You could hear the dog yipping far down the street and away, going to fetch visitors. Yesterday, Torry had brought Mrs. Holloway from Elm Avenue with a storybook for a present. The day before, Torry had sat up and begged at Mr. Jacobs, the jeweler. Mr. Jacobs had bent and nearsightedly deciphered the tag message and, sure enough, had come shuffling and waddling to pay Martin a call. Now Martin heard the dog returning through the smoky afternoon, barking, running, barking again. Footsteps came lightly after the dog. Somebody rang the downstairs bell softly. His mother answered the door. Voices talked. Torry raced upstairs, leaped on the bed. Martin leaned forward excitedly, his face shining, to see who'd come upstairs this time. Maybe Miss Palmborg, or Mr. Ellis, or Miss Gendris, or... The visitor walked upstairs, talking to his mother. It was a young woman's voice, talking with a laugh in it. The door opened. Martin had company. 4 days passed in which Torre did his job, reported morning, afternoon and evening temperatures, soil consistencies, leaf colors, rain levels, and most important of all, brought visitors. Miss Height again on Saturday. She was the young, laughing, handsome woman with gleaming brown hair and a soft way of talking. She lived in the big house on Park Street. It was her third visit in a month. On Sunday, it was the Reverend Volmar. On Monday, Miss Clark and Mr. Hendricks. And to each of them, Martin explained his dog. How in spring he was odorous of wild flowers and fresh earth. In summer he was baked warm, sun-crisp. In autumn now, a treasure trove of gold leaves hidden in his pelt for Martin to explore out. Then one morning, his mother told Martin about Miss Height, the one who was so handsome and young, and laughed. She was dead, killed in a motoring accident in Glen Falls. Martin held onto his dog, remembering Miss Height, thinking of the way she smiled, thinking of her bright eyes, her closely cropped chestnut hair, her slim body, her quick walk, her nice stories about seasons and people. So now she was dead. She wasn't going to laugh or tell stories anymore. That's all there was to it. She was dead. What do they do in the graveyard, Mum? Under the ground? Nothing. Oh, you mean they just lie there? Yes, said his mother. That's all they do. Why don't they get up and walk around once in a while, if they get tired of lying there? I think you've said enough now. Sometimes I think God's pretty silly. Martin! Martin scowled. Well, you'd think he'd find a better way. What if I told Torre to play dead dog? He does it a while, but then he gets sick of it and wags his tail or blinks his eyes and walks around. I'll bet those graveyard people do the same, eh, Torre? Torre barked. That will do, his mother said. I don't like such talk. In mid-October, Torre began to act strangely. He couldn't seem to find anyone to come to visit Martin. Nobody seemed to pay any attention to his begging. He came home 7 days in a row without bringing a visitor. Martin was deeply despondent over it. His mother explained it. Well, everybody's busy. People have lots to worry over besides little begging dogs. Martin said, I guess so. But there was more to it than that. Torre had a funny gleam in his eyes, as if he wasn't really trying or didn't care or something. Something Martin couldn't figure out. Maybe Torre was sick. Well, to heck with visitors. As long as he had Torre, everything was fine. And then one day, Torre ran out and didn't come back at all. Martin waited, quietly at first, then nervously, then anxiously. At supper time, he heard Mum and Dad call Torre. Nothing happened. There was no use. There was no sound of paws along the path outside the house, no sharp barking in the cold night air. Nothing. Torre was gone. Torre wasn't coming home, ever. Sobbing, Martin turned his face to his pillow. There was no contact with the world. The world was dead. Martin stared at the ceiling for the first 3 days of November, watching alternate light and dark shift across it. Days got shorter, darker. He could tell by the window. The trees were naked. The autumn wind changed its tempo and temperature. It was just a pageant outside his window, nothing more. He couldn't get at it. He listened each day, but he didn't hear the sounds he wanted to hear. Friday night came. His parents were going to the theatre. They'd be back at 11. His mum and dad kissed him good night and walked out of the house into the autumn. He heard their footsteps go down the street. Silence then. Martin just lay there and watched the stars moving slowly across the sky. If only Torre would come home, bringing some of the world with him. A bird or a rhymed thistle or the wind in his... If only Torre would come home. And then way off somewhere, there was a sound. It was so small, it was like a needlepoint moving through the air, miles and miles away. It was the sound of a dog coming across meadows and fields, down dark streets. The sound of a dog running and letting his breath out to the night. The sound of a dog circling and running. It came and went. It lifted and faded. It came forward and went back as if it was being led by someone on a chain. The faint barking continued for 5 minutes, growing louder and louder. Torry, come home. Torry, come home. Torry, boy. Oh, Torry, where have you been? Oh, Torry, Torry. Nearer now. Very near. Just up the street. Barking. Torry. Martin held his breath. The sound of dog feet and the piled dry leaves down the path. And now, right outside the house, barking, barking, barking. Torry. Barking to the door. Martin shivered. The door opened downstairs. Someone was kind enough to have opened the door for Torry. Torry had brought a visitor, of course. Mr. Buchanan, or Mr. Jacobs, or perhaps Miss Tarkins. The door opened and closed, and Torry came racing upstairs and flung himself yipping on the bed. Torry, where have you been? What have you done all this week? Martin laughed and cried all in one. He grabbed the dog and he held him to him. Then he stopped laughing and crying, suddenly. He just stared at Torry with wide, strange eyes. The odor arising from Torry was different. It was a smell of earth. Dead earth. Earth that had lain cheek by jowl with unhealthy, decaying things 6 feet under. Stinking, stinking, rancid earth. Clods of decaying earth fell off Torry's paws. And something else. A small, withered fragment of skin. Was it? Was it? Was it? What kind of message was this from Torry? What did such a message mean? The stench, the ripe, awful cemetery earth. Torry was a bad dog, always digging where he shouldn't dig. Oh, Torry was a good dog, always making friends so easily. Torry took to liking everybody. He brought them home with him. And now this latest visitor was coming up the stairs, slowly, dragging one foot after the other, painfully, slowly, slowly, slowly. Torry, Torry, where have you been? A clod of rank, crawling soil dropped from the dog's chest. The door to the bedroom moved inwards. Martin had company.